It was a relaxing Sunday afternoon, sitting along a river in the mountains. The weather was amazing, so families were out hiking, bicycling, rock climbing, and getting wet in the river. You couldn't ask for a better day off. Well, maybe you could, and that's why we made the long drive to this secluded paradise, nestled more than a mile high up in the mountains. A friend and I were in town to interview a man who had a Bigfoot encounter while snowshoeing outside of town. We ordered pizza and drinks and made ourselves comfortable until he arrived. We didn't have to wait long. We saw a smiling man approaching our table. I introduced myself as he took a seat. My friend had already met him. In fact, it was on our last trip to this pizza place she said to him, "You look like a man that's seen a Sasquatch." In fact, he did, and then agreed to meet with me to share his story. His encounter took place between 10 to 12 miles to the north. He was snowshoeing in waist-deep snow, but fortunately, the surface snow was crunchy, making it easier to walk. It was late afternoon in February, many years ago. He had trekked up along the tree line some 150 yards from where he parked. He noticed the sun was headed down, so he turned around. He didn't want to be caught out there too far after dark, when the temperature really drops. About 40 yards out in the meadow, he heard a strange noise coming from behind him, back in the trees where he had turned around. He said it sounded like someone banging a tree with a stick. When he turned to look, the sun was low enough that it created shadows along the tree line. He wondered if his mind was playing tricks on him when he noticed something unusual. He told us he saw glowing red eyes from the shadows staring dead at him. Looking in his direction, the creature lurking in the shadows was facing away from the sun, so it wasn't a shine. I yelled out, "Hey, is someone there?" I never heard an answer, so I stood there quietly for a minute or two just watching, but nothing happened. As soon as I turned around to walk toward the car, I heard the banging. He then added, "The second time I heard 3 taps in succession. 3 taps, 3 taps. But this time when it stopped, I heard another sound like rocks being knocked together quickly from across the road." I asked, "You mean on the other side of your car?" "Yeah, but it was further back." Then the knocks were going back and forth as if they were communicating with each other. I screamed and yelled out. Whenever I moved, they started up again. Regarding the fast rock clacking sound, he said, it seemed like it was responding to the tree smacking sound behind me. After 15 to 20 minutes, my hair stood on end and I got freaked out. That's when I started moving faster toward my car. "Do you carry?" I asked. No. I had no protection and I was in the middle of a wide open meadow. It was a scary feeling being watched like that. Going back to the red-eyed creature in the trees, I wanted it to move or do something to verify it for my brain. I shouted at it, I waved at it, but it just wouldn't move. It was just fixated on me. Whatever it was, if it would just take one step forward, that's all it had to do. It would have been out in the light, completely visible. But it was just right on the edge of that shadow with the way the sun was going. My friend asked him, "So did you ever feel like you were in danger? Like, did you feel like they wanted to hurt you?" No. I got confused. My brain started to scramble because I couldn't figure out what it was, and that was more of the anxiety-inducing part of it. Just feeling like I was being watched. If it was a person, why wouldn't they yell back, respond, move, something? I asked, "Snowshoeing like that, you probably get out a lot?" "Yes." I added, "Summer and winter, have you ever felt watched by a mountain lion?" He replied, I have. I've worked out there for a while and they paid me to snowshoe by myself in the middle of winter to collect water samples. I've been tracked by lion and I know I've been watched. I circled back and found paw prints literally tracking my snowshoe trail. One time, I even found a fresh elk kill with a huge rack on it. I was with another guy from the research organization. He was big into collecting the racks when we found them up there. He continued, "So we walked up to the animal and he grabbed a hold of the rack. The body was half ripped out and everything, blood in the snow. It was pretty fresh, but he grabbed a hold of it just to see if it would come off. As soon as he grabbed it and gave it a wiggle, we heard this crazy, piercing screech scream coming directly towards us. He just let go of it, and both of us immediately knew obviously the lion was there and was watching us walk up to the kill. It was protecting its kill. Obviously, it wasn't done. Full for the moment, but not satisfied. Yeah, we literally put our hands in the air like a gun was on us and started backing away from the animal slowly. "Did you go back for the rack afterwards?" my friend asked. No. That particular day, I was legally allowed to go up to 10,000 feet. Anytime I was above that, I had to get special permission. Normally, I'd go up to the 2 highest peaks to collect the water samples. That particular day, we got permission to go all the way to the very top to find a certain rock structure. It was while up there that this happened, so I did not get an opportunity to go all the way back up. I interjected, "Did you ever hear on the news that a research team came out here?" "Yes. I do know that one organization came out here and did some research. My next-door neighbor was part of their group. He interviewed me 2 days after it happened, as it was really fresh in my mind. We sat down in his living room, and he recorded it for one of their books. I asked if he had a sense of how high the eyes were off the ground. That was the weird part, too. They were higher than a human being. That was another reason I was freaked out about it. I shared a few stories from my previous books about Bigfoot sightings and showed him a couple photos. We discussed why some people have sightings and others do not. Back to my neighbor, when he was doing research up here, they would come up for a week every summer and go out and set up infrared cameras and all kinds of stuff. One story he told me is that, one night for bait, they put out a sealed jar of peanut butter, unopened with the plastic wrap still on the seal. They set it next to a fence post, and they watched infrared cameras most of the night. Nothing. They did callings. Nothing. Not a thing. Finally, about 3 or 4 in the morning, they gave up and went to bed in their tents. About 5 in the morning, they heard some strange noises outside. When they got up, they didn't find any evidence on camera, but they went back to the peanut butter and something had completely unscrewed the lid and opened it. The whole jar was completely spotless empty. Something actually ate the entire thing and then put the lid back on the peanut butter and set it back down on the ground. That's when I told the man about the story of the guy driving home at night when he saw a deer race across the road in front of him. He pulled over and waited to see what was chasing it. Whatever it was, it came out of the woods on 2 legs and after seeing him there, dropped to 4 legs and resumed its chase for the deer. That reminded him of the following story. A similar thing happened just up the canyon a couple months ago to one of my employees' aunts. It was a mountain lion. She was driving her truck about 5 miles up the canyon. She was heading home and had a little baby in a car seat. All of a sudden, a deer came up over the shoulder of the road from the river at full steam and slammed right into the passenger door of the truck. It happened so fast, she didn't have time to hit the brake. The impact was hard enough the baby woke up, screamed, and started to cry. She pulled the truck over and got out. She walked around to the back seat to open the door to console her little boy. When she did, she felt something looking at her. It was the mountain lion, and it was around 6 feet from her, crouched on the shoulder and looking at her. Then it looked back at the deer. The deer was laying there kicking and half alive. It gave her one last look, then went over to the deer and sunk its teeth into it and dragged it back off the road towards the river. Gone. She said it all happened super fast. At this point, he needed to get back to work, so we thanked him for his time. My friend and I just looked at each other. "Wow, what a great story," she said. "Yep, I'm glad you found this guy.